Most of you would like to know how spirit releasement came about. For me, when I was practicing past life regression, I went to a conference in Newport Beach, California, many years ago, and took a course in regression therapy, a recertification. And sitting next to me in the class was a fella taking some more certification work and things like that. And we went to have lunch. His name was Charles Drummond, and he was a doctor of, forget exactly, he was an MD. And we were talking at lunch about doing regression therapy. And he commented to me, when you're doing your regression therapy with your clients, who are you talking to? I thought, this is very, very strange. So I had him go on and on. He said, well, you know, discarnate entities or spirits, if you have somebody in a hypnotic state, you can ask the spirits to speak through the person's vocal cords. So if you have somebody under hypnosis and you ask them about what's going on in their life, it could be somebody else, a discarnate entity, a dead person that is attached to your client, and you would get their information instead of your client's information. He told me, you're going to have to read Baldwin. I said, who's Baldwin? Well, I did read Baldwin. Healing Lost Souls was the first book I read. William J. Baldwin, he's PhD. He was a dentist who had back trouble, went back to school, got his degree in psychology and started doing psychological work, and then ran into these entities that spoke to him. And he created a whole method of therapy called spirit release therapy. James Baldwin. Big book. The Baldwin method. The Baldwin method is you actually do therapy on the discarnate or the dead people that you find inside of your clients. And because he felt that they were confused and didn't go into the light. So, I'm not a psychologist, I have a PhD, I'm a counselor, and I didn't want to do therapy on a. So I searched farther, and I found that Charles Wicklund was doing spirit release work and wrote this book in 1924. They brought him under the gun to get rid of him because he was starting to clear out asylums. And he wrote this book in 1924. He was getting rid of the entities, and the people weren't crazy anymore because they weren't hearing all of this stuff that's going on in their head. So, that started me thinking about and reading about spirit release therapy. I ran across Prisoners of Earth by Lois Starr. Now, seeing I'm not a psychologist and I am a counselor, reading Starr, she said she used a pendulum to find out what kind of entities and how many were on the people that she were sent to her. Well, I had been using a pendulum for many, many years, and she says in her work she used a pendulum. And I thought, okay, I can use a pendulum in this kind of work. And I continued to develop this strategy for the next 5 years. And I wrote my dissertation to the University of Sedona on spirit release therapy. Now, this is an interesting book too. This is called The Rite, the Roman Rite, which is still being used today. It's a 2,000-year-old therapy that the Catholic Church uses to depossess and to remove evil spirits from their parishioners. This is a great book because this young fella, young journalist, went with a priest that was going to be the diocese exorcist. And they went to the Vatican, and he followed the priest around while he was being trained. And the Vatican still does not recognize the fact that the entities have to go into the light. That's what people do when they die. They go into the light. The exorcism method that they use in the diocese will actually remove spirits from the I can't think of the word right now.
Client?
But from the parishioners or whatever, parishioners. But the problem is that they don't send them to the light. Consequently, when the person leaves the exorcism, the entities jump right back on. And they told this in this book, and it shows in the book that that's what they do. So, it's a war. It's a war. This is the Christian book. And this is the Indivisible War. And they don't do exorcism. They do what's known as
deliverance.
Yeah. Anyway, they do it their own way.
Deliverance.
Deliverance. Yeah, they do deliverance. Yes. Thank you very much, student. I appreciate that. So these are the backgrounds. You can look for these books, read about them, and get a background in the spirit release world of how it's been done. Many books. This is pretty good. Eugene Morey, Reverend Morey. He's very good. He's not alive now, but he's up there into the light. He used spirit guides to go out and release entities. He was very psychic, and he used to just go and find psychically release spirits, just doing it psychically, going out and talking to them and send them the light, until he got visited by a bad spirit. So he enlisted the use of a spirit guide, one of his spirit guides, and he called him George. And then he would send George out to release the entities. I give you this background so that you'll know that a lot of work has been done in the past to develop the system of spirit release work. Now there is the psychic method, there's the analysis method, which is and we have the intermediary method that we're learning here. The intermediary method is the one where the pendulum is the intermediary, and you use a photograph and the pendulum. The pendulum is a direct link to the God consciousness as an intermediary, and with the pendulum you can ask permission to have a group of angels come down and actually take and release these entities into the light and take them into the light. I think it's break time, so we'll continue again right after break.